On today's episode of The Angle Show, we're going to be talking about some talent leaving WWE, also character changes, gimmick changes, potentially some massive plans in the works. It's all coming up right here on The Angle Show. All right, everybody, we're going to kick things off with some very interesting news surrounding a character change, and that comes from Liv Morgan. If you guys watch WWE, then you know Liv Morgan has been doing some pretty good stuff as of late. But the problem is they haven't done anything to take her to the next level. She had her feud with Rousey. She did the Extreme Rules. Then she fell back into the women's tag team division. Well, now Liv Morgan posted a new photo on social media with her hair cut off. And we don't know what exactly is happening here. Some people are speculating that she might be pulling a Shotzi Blackheart, in which she might be shaving her head. But I noticed very distinctly in the photo that she posted, it is most of like the gray silver hair that she has. So my assumption is this may not be as big of a gimmick change or persona change as many people actually believe it to be. In this case, I think literally she just might be changing the color of her hair. But it is interesting because it's definitely getting people talking. It's definitely got people interested. And anytime something like this happens, you know, typically some sort of character change happens. Now, will that be the case with Liv Morgan? Again, I think it's just the hair color change, but it is something very interesting to keep in mind of. I want to know what you guys think. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to talk a little bit about Jimmy Hart. He was on Two-Man Power Trip of Wrestling, and I thought this was really interesting because he did express a little bit of interest in coming back into WWE television, but what he wants to do is actually quite shocking. Jimmy Hart is actually a really big fan of Pretty Deadly, and he says, man, this is really good. I like those kids. You know why? Because they kind of remind me of my era. They talk big, they get knocked around, but they're colorful, and they're not real big giant guys. I like them. I think they could really draw some big money. If I had the chance to do it again, that's who I'd like to be with. And you know what, guys? I never seen the vision. I never saw the vision for this, but I truly believe this would be some really exciting stuff. Pretty Deadly is a very good tag team, but the problem is right now the WWE tag team division is just a little bit sloppy with the way it's being booked. The titles are still undisputed. We know WWE has plans to split up the titles and reveal new title belts. It just hasn't happened yet. I really want to see them do it soon. I really want to see Raw and SmackDown have their own set of champions. And if I'm on SmackDown, if I'm booking SmackDown, Pretty Deadly is the group that I move forward with. Now, keep in mind, you got the Brawling Brutes as well. You got other tag teams. You got Hit Row. You got quite a bit on SmackDown. But I think Pretty Deadly would be the team that would be very good with those belts at first. And I also want to throw this out there because I just think it's a really interesting thing about Pretty Deadly. But when you look at what they've done in NXT and come to the main roster, when they're on TV, like the booking and everything makes sense. It's handled pretty well. Even the stuff that they were doing with Theory. But ultimately, it kind of feels like they are directionless. On NXT, they had direction. On the main roster, they didn't. And it's not like they've been booked poorly. It's just they don't have the direction because the tag team division isn't a prominent thing without those belts being split up. So if Pretty Deadly and Jimmy Hart were to come together, it would actually be really fun. I would love to see WWE go this route. I feel like Triple H and Vince McMahon should actually consider this because it could be really beneficial for Pretty Deadly, especially if you want tag team wrestling to be a big deal. Now, here's the thing. If this was AEW, you'd probably see them in a big way, right? Because the tag team wrestling in AEW is a big focus. With WWE, historically, it's never really been that way. And I feel like we need to fix that. Those titles need to get split up. Put Jimmy Hart with Pretty Deadly. I think you can make a serious amount of money. And if Jimmy Hart can do it, I'm all for it. All right, guys, I want to turn our attention to some really cool Impact Wrestling news. It's been revealed. Guys, I'm honestly excited about this. So it's been revealed on Busted Open Radio that Team 3D is set to reunite for the first time in 7 years at Impact 1000. For those who don't know, Impact is celebrating their 1000th episode. It's going to be taking place September 9th at the Westchester County Center in White Plains, New York. And Devon and Bully Ray are coming back together. And this is exciting stuff. You know, if I could just be completely honest with you, I feel like Impact Wrestling has done a really, really good job with their television show. And they've done a remarkable job with Bully Ray. Every time I see Bully Ray on the screen, I'm entertained by it. I think he's done a lot of great stuff in the past year with Impact Wrestling. And I know this is a very special episode of Impact. And I understand that Impact will probably do something really cool where these guys hit a Team 3D, they grab the tables, whatever it may be. But if it is at all possible to give them one final run, with the amount of great tag teams that are in Impact, I just want to throw it out there that I fully support it. You got Subculture, you got Chris Bay and Ace Austin, you got the Rascals. I mean, you have some really good tag teams. And then, of course, you have Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, which right now we'll see what happens there. But if we could get a small little run with Team 3D, I'm all for it. And, you know, I will even throw out the possibility of Team 3D working in AEW as well, because, again, they do handle tag team wrestling very well. I don't know what to expect out of this. I'm actually really excited for Impact 1000, but it looks like they're returning, and that's going to be really cool. This should be a very, very, very big episode for Impact, and I cannot wait to watch it. Again, that's being taped September 9th. That should be a big one. All right, guys, you might have watched on this channel. We've talked about this before, the Dyad. Well, now we have a massive update on the Dyad. Rip Fowler, Jagger Reed. Despite the fact that WWE has not granted their release, WWE has kept them on television. WWE NXT Schism is a very, very big storyline right now. Joe Gacy and Ava Raine working with the Dyad still, despite the fact that they've wanted out of the company. And now here's the thing. We have confirmation that they are still looking to leave, right? This is coming from Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. But basically right now their deals are reportedly up October 14th, and it looks like they're not going to be sticking with WWE. Now, I want to throw this out there. I want to throw this out there as a very, very legitimate idea, and it's you know, from a fan perspective, but even from a business perspective. I love what these two guys are doing, especially when you look at WWE and how they are handling the European talent. When you see the Brawling Brutes and you see, you know, you see Sheamus and you see Pete Dunne and you see all these guys, you see Drew McIntyre and you see all of this talent, Imperium. Why can't these guys go back to being the grizzled young vets and put them on the main roster? If there is one thing I would really genuinely love to see, it's that. They were dealt a bad gimmick in NXT. They've been able to make it work, and that's great. If they said they didn't like this gimmick, if they don't like what they're doing on television, then I would love nothing more than to see them on the main roster as themselves, because I think that would be a massive win. The reality is they are a hell of a tag team. I don't know what they actually want out of their life, but if I'm Shawn Michaels, if I'm WWE, I let them stay in WWE and let them do what they want, if they're willing to do it. If they're not willing to do it, then okay, obviously not. But if WWE hasn't already proposed the idea for them to be the grizzled young vets again, going up to the main roster, I don't know what the hell they're thinking.